Welcome back to the Balance Boldly podcast for ambitious women in business and a few brave men. I'm your host, Naketa Ren Thigpen, excited as always to be partnering with you as we change the narrative to amplify your intimacy with and across your relationship so you can have the freedom, flexibility, and confidence to thrive in work life and in love. Hashtag and in love. We have to make sure that that is always in there. You guys have been missed. I've missed you so much. I know that for those of you who have been mad fan followers of the Balance Boldly podcast that we lovingly call the BBP, you've seen a little bit of the gap because I was out of commission for almost 6 months nursing myself back to health, and I'm still on the road to recovery, and I'm very, very excited to be on the other side of the torturous life that was happening inside my womb. So thank you for the flowers, the cards, the DMs, the emails, the messages, and for all of my sister circle out there, you especially, I extra love you because you have been sending so many prayers, and I'm so grateful for it. This is the perfect, let's underline this, the perfect guest to bring to the show today. This woman is magical and happens to be best in the world at what she does as an entrepreneur, as a wife, as a mama, as someone who understands the reason to breathe and pace yourself, because she also happens to own a company named that, who also really understands how important it is to not define yourself by the expectations of other people, to not get caught up in societal norms because normal is not necessarily necessary. So make sure you underline that as well. This woman that I am bringing to you today, she could be considered your favorite cousin, and we'll get into that joke in a minute. She is helping women redefine what it means to move in their limitless power beyond motherhood. Mara Kazantzaki, welcome to the Balance Boldly podcast. How are you today?
Hi, Naketa. Thank you for having me. And oh my goodness, you pronounced my name correctly. What? You must be the first person in the world outside of Greece that can pronounce my name.
I appreciate that. Maybe that's another language I need to learn. I'm all about it. I'm so excited to have you here for so many reasons. You and I have had multiple conversations that we probably should have recorded, or maybe we shouldn't have because it might go viral for the wrong reasons. Because of our transparency and our connection to just being honest and standing in our truth, which is a huge part that I know that you help women do themselves as they're really getting in touch with who they're becoming, as they're realizing that they're more. Being a mother is fantastic if you are blessed to be one, but you help them go beyond that. And I would really love for you to share just a little bit of what your work is like.
Oh my goodness. So I inspire women to break free from the traditional notion of motherhood by elevating the way that they are supported.
Yes.
I mean, I'm the best in the world at really seeing into inside mother souls. And I'm creating the conditions for them to feel safe, guilt-free. Oh my gosh. Leave the guilt at the door, right? So they can pause and breathe. So only then they can find that space to tap into their inner core, so they can uncover their essence and discover their inner compass and all these beautiful things, so they can redefine their identity and of course access the limitless power. Because I'm going to tell you this later, that we really need to discuss this. You know, when you become a mom, is actually biologically changes happening into your brain. That makes you it's your superpower. But we can talk about this later.
Okay. I love this. So, because I'm thinking about, so you guys don't know all the gooey details, and I promise, because we know we have ambitious women in business that are listening, as well as a few brave men. So for the men, I don't want you to be yucked out by any of the conversation on my part. But for those of you who didn't know, I had a lot of stuff going on with my womb. And one of the things that I found out in the process of that is that venously, if I'm saying that wrong, that line correctly, venously, like your vein system, somehow is connected to your heart. So if they take out both of your ovaries as a woman, you're actually at an increased risk for heart attack. So for the moms that are listening or those considering to be mothers, you know, when you're like, oh, my kid hurt my heart, or they did something so fantastic that my heart was about to boom at my chest, that's a real thing. Like, we thought it was some kind of colloquial statement to say that, you know, my kids are my heart, but they really are really truly biologically connected to your heart. So hearing you say that about the brain is magnificent.
Absolutely. In fact, there were studies that were found out that the cells from your children stay with you forever, you know.
Yes.
And they have a part of you and you have a part of them forever, so you're forever connected. So there is this biological thing happening. We can't deny it, for sure.
We cannot deny it. And I don't know if this is a blessing or a curse when my kids are getting on my nerves. So I remember Mara standing on stages years ago, pre-COVID, of course, at I don't know, it was at like an Innovating Women in STEM conference or something. And for whatever reason, because I speak from my heart and from my spirits, you know, I come with my points that I want to make, but I'm really just flowing. And I remember standing there like, you know, because I don't even like my kids. I said that out. Like, I love them, but I don't even like them sometimes, you know, sometimes because my kids were teenagers, had attitudes, you know, all the things. And the whole audience full of like 200 plus women just bust out laughing. And I realized what I said, because, you know, sometimes you think you have the thought in your head and you didn't mean to say it out loud, because not everyone really understands, you know, what you mean. And then I caught myself and I was like, oh, you guys get it. You're not laughing at me. You're laughing because you get it. And so I did a thing like, how many of you... Exactly. How many of you in here don't like your kids either sometimes, right? But now we know that by not liking your kids, there's a part of you that's not liking yourself, because we're all biologically connected, even after they're out of the womb. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, there's a philosophical
exactly.
Connected to the biological.
Exactly. And I know a lot of the work that you're doing, because you kind of moved from this space of helping people touch and understand and deepen their experience with their body, and the work that you do as a certified yoga instructor and as an owner as well, to seeing beyond that. Because to your point about guilt and to the pre-conversation that we were having, because guilt is huge with women in general and can lead to overwhelm and stress-induced illnesses and just all the things that kind of accompany with that. I know we're kind of preaching to the choir because everyone listening here is familiar with that. That was a huge thing that helped you see that you had to do more work. How did you make the leap from being in touch with the body, helping people with their body through, you know, yoga? And I know this is something you also continue to do because you have multiple businesses, but to really see that there was a need to, pun intended here, go beyond and meet them where they were at.
Well, the reason I became a yoga teacher was my vision. My goal was to help other mothers, because yoga helped me. That was when my awakening happened. So a little backstory. Before children, I was a successful media professional. I was a film editor. And before that, you know, I studied psychology, communications. Then I did my MA, and I worked in the media industry. I worked for the BBC, what have you. And then 30 years old, you know, being Greek and being conditioned. Well, just because before I was 30, actually, before I was 30, I was with my partner and our husband. We were together for so many years. And I was like, what's going on? What's happening? You know, I'm meant to be having babies by now, right? We need to get married, right? Because I'm Greek, and culturally, it's, you know, it's frowned upon to have children before marriage, you know. So anyway, so I've been conditioned from a very young age to do that thing. So no matter what I did, so I loved my job. It's just it's like everything stopped, and I was obsessed that this needs to happen. So we got married, and then 30 years old, on my honeymoon, I threw my pills down the drain, yeah, and which I completely regretted straight after because my period came during my honeymoon.
Right.
Oh my God, what did I do? I took it back on. Anyway, so it's like, that's it. We start trying now because my birthday is next month, and that's 30. And that's like, it's urgent. We do this. He wasn't very sure, and we kind of like changed our minds and said, okay, maybe we should wait to move house first, sell the flat and what have you. Anyway, it happened because Zachary needed to be born.
Clearly.
Yeah and then all of a sudden I was heavily pregnant, going editing, and then just realizing that I'm gonna get my maternity leave soon. And then what? I can't go back to work. 12-hour days, 14-hour days in an edit suite, which a lot, by the way, is just not really family friendly. I mean, there's a reason there are not women in the film industry. So many, I mean, they are, but not as editors, because editors, the directors go home, 8 o'clock, and we stay, till midnight. We've got deadlines and stuff like that. Or traveling. When you get a project, you disappear. So we had to make a decision, and we decided together that, he makes more money and my job is not very, family friendly, so I'll stay at home. I never thought I would be a stay-at-home mom, but, children come first. And then that's where the guilt starts. That's where the guilt starts. You get that you get two things. You get the thing that says, when are you gonna go back to work? Oh, I can't go back to work. Well, why don't you do something else then? I was like, because why would I do something else, make less money, and then having to pay the nanny, blah, 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 blah. All these things that come into your head. Anyway, so we're staying at home. This is what we're doing. But I'll never forget, Zachary, my first baby, was 8 months old. Have him in the sling, because we're doing also, positive parenting, attachment parenting. And I was deeply unhappy. I was like, how can this be? I've got this beautiful baby, but I'm ready to go back to work. And then that's the other guilt, it's like, what's going on? And then the third guilt comes in. It's like, who are you if you're not working, if you're not an editor? Okay, you're a mom, but who are you?
Right.
And like, because my job, it defined me, my career. And then it's like, I stopped my career. I wanted to edit documentaries, and I was on my way. But 30 was that time that I had. I think if I continued that way, maybe 2 or 3 years, I would be doing that. I should have waited, but no, because Zachary wouldn't have been born, and you can't regret that. You can't go back regretting. And then he's like, "Oh my God, am I regretting this?" Fourth guilt.
Right.
I've been counting the guilt. And on top of that, you've got the sleepless nights and the lack of personal space, and and then you've got the other thing. Well, I'm at home. I don't need support. I don't need help other than, and some, if you're lucky and you have your mom and you have a good relationship with your mom, and it's fine, they come and help. But I didn't have that, and I didn't have my mother-in-law either, for reasons, which, by the way, my mother-in-law, I love her so much. She's amazing. But, she couldn't at the time help. So I had no support. I couldn't pay for support either. Because of financial reasons. Guess what? Because of guilt.
Right. Like, I can't possibly put more money out, and when I should be the one being with them and doing
I'm not working.
Things.
Why would I pay someone else look after my child? So I wasn't thinking about me at all.
Right.
And I was doing this thing. I read so many books of I did so much research. So having my psychology background, and not having, as well as the way I was brought up, was an optimal maybe for another conversation. So I didn't have that reference of how to parent in the way I wanted to parent. So I did a lot of research on child development, and we decided to bring up the boys with positive parenting and attachment parenting and all that stuff, which is great if you have the village to support you.
Right.
But on your own, it's a lot.
It is a lot.
Yeah. So that's the other one. So of course, doing all this and keep going and keep going and keep going. At some point, I was and then having another baby as well. We had Alex, needless to after they have 21 months gap. I have to say, so not 2 years, 21 months. It makes a difference because if you have a baby, every month is different, developmentally. Yes. So 2.5 years is very different from 2 years. Anyway, so they were, I had a baby and I had another baby. So that's also really hard. Yeah. So I was in a near nervous breakdown, and at that point we'd moved house, we moved area as well. We went somewhere, we went by the coast and to buy our dream home. We had this massive house that we didn't know what to do with, and Aaron was working away in London because we were in Brighton. I never saw him, and I lost my support network, which was other friends in the neighborhood there that we were kind of helping each other, So I had a nervous breakdown. So we decided after that to drop it all and move to Thailand instead.
Which is so bold, to say the least.
You know what? When you're at this point where it's either we're going to get divorced or I'm going to end it, or, when you're at nervous breakdown, it's not scary to move away because and it actually saved our marriage and my sanity. And that's where I found yoga. That's where and my teacher told me I should become a yoga teacher, and that's how I found my awakening. And I decided that I'm gonna do this so I can help other mothers. Yeah, because that's when I knew what to do. And of course, I knew what to do, where to go, but it's a long process. But because I had that goal up there, I knew where I was going. I did it. I worked backwards, and I took all the steps. So I trained. I mean, when I started yoga in Thailand, I couldn't even touch my toes. And my teacher said, I put this beautiful Thai teacher. She said I should become a yoga teacher. It's just something, just a light bulb moment, because it was insane, but also beautiful. And this is it. All the steps I've taken to create Beyond Motherhood, where I am now, it started there.
I love so much about this, and just the breathing of that moment after all of the steps that you just shared. Like, if the physical breath that you just took represents exactly what I think a lot of other humans that are listening to this are feeling. Because so many people that are listening to the BBP, to the Balance Fully podcast right now, I know for a fact have related at some point. For some, it was after the birth of, like, a physical birth of a child. For some, it was the physical birth of a business, right? Right? Or all the combination thereof. Yeah. And for others, it was because of the loss that then produced a physical birth of new self for them because of some other loss that they created, where, not that they created, I don't want that misinterpreted, that they experienced. And then they had to create the next chapter of their life, the way that you and your husband so boldly decided to create a new chapter as part of not only your journey, but as a part of your repair process to be whole again, to be healthy again. Not necessarily knowing how that was going to look, but knowing what it was. And I feel like I'm hearing the same thing about your your mission. I don't want to just say business because I know you're very mission driven, and your mission to help women not have to experience what you experience, feeling for the most part very alone. And I know there was ebbs and flows of people in and out as you moved countries and all the things, but for the most part, you are a solo traveler through that experience, and you're trying to save the heartache and hurt. And in the process of all of that helping and healing that you're doing others, you're simultaneously trying to maintain your sanity because you are a wife and a mother, and your boys are older now. They're no longer, 2 and an infant, but they're here and they're demanding energy from you at a different level. So you get to still add more chapters to your journey that then other people who are maybe a couple of years behind you can benefit from, which is beautiful.
Yeah, it's true. Yes, I'm in a very good point right now where my children are, and they're 10 and 12. And apparently this is the best age, and it is. I can feel it because they're not completely teenagers where they're giving you a hard time in a different way. And
it's coming.
I know. I'm waiting. I'm ready for it. And they're not little that they need you not just emotionally and mentally, they need you physically as well. So it's exhausting in so many ways. So I passed that part. But I lost my train of thought. But you said something. Oh yes, I have the urge. There's I feel this pull to help mothers that were in that stage where I was, and support them. It's beyond my control. I have no choice but to support them. And do everything I can to create that business, because I'm starting a business, and oh my god, it's my mission. But at the end of the day, I do have to register the business, I do have to get an accountant, I do have to do all these other boring things so I can do what I really want to do, because it's just what we need to do.
Right. And isn't that the reality though of how life is for ambitious women, period? There's the juicy things that are pulling you forth, like Beyond Motherhood and serving, and then there's all the logistics and the parts of you that you're not really interested in. You might be good at, but you don't love, and you don't necessarily want to do. And I get it for all of our delegating queens and kings out there. It is super important to delegate when you can, but when you are starting or creating something from scratch, you have to be fiscally responsible to that business and to that mission. Because at the end of the day, you can't just delegate nilly-willy, right?
No.
Business has to grow.
You said it earlier. You said it. It's like we're having a baby, and that's a big change, and it fucks you up. And you need to, and you need help. But you're birthing a business, and it fucks you up.
Stretch marks of a different kind.
Yes, exactly. So you kind of, I have to listen to my own advice and kind of find that balance. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and to the point that I know we were talking about before we even started recording, because guys, this is just what happens when you are a podcast host who loves your people and who really believes in relationships. You have conversations that don't get recorded. So in some of our non-recorded conversations, we were talking about what we create. And I think both of us stand in agreement that you're really creating your balance, right? You created space for yourself. It's as hard and as challenging as it was for you and your husband to make that move so you could balance boldly at that level. And then you created spaciousness for breathe and pace. The first original form of the business and the form of mission that was helping women get in touch with their bodies and their strength and be more comfortable and feel sexy and vibrant for themselves more than anything. And then you created more space, which allowed you at these different levels to balance and create more joy for you and your family with Beyond Motherhood. And who knows where this is going to turn into, because you and I were joking off record. I was like, Mara's going to be your favorite cousin Jackie, because that's how you say her last name.
There we go.
So, and I think it's
Mm.
been amazing to see that you are walking your talk. You can honor that, you know what, today's not a great day, but I'm showing up anyway. Or I'm showing at the level that I can to give and serve, and then I'm going to go nurture myself in the process. And I appreciate that you're doing that for yourself.
Yeah, we were just saying that, didn't we? Well, just because I'm doing this, it doesn't mean that I've got everything figured out and I'm like always zen. And yeah, I do yoga, I'm zen. It's wonderful. God, it's always calm and beautiful. So I, we had 3 weeks off at Christmas and then it was interesting because I was having meetings with people and they were saying, oh yeah, I took 3 weeks off and I feel so alive and ready. I didn't do any work. And I was like, I also didn't do any work, but I feel crap.
That's real.
What is going on? It's like, oh, I spent 3 weeks in lockdown style, a kind of, because we're still, in the pandemic. So we didn't book anything to go away. The France, closed their borders, for example. Lots of people couldn't go anywhere. Anyway, so we stayed at home, and then we also seized the opportunity of the extra holidays for the boys to have tutoring. So we had people coming in that I had to vet, and that's the other thing, like that moms do the extra work, which we can talk about on another show.
Oh, you mean being house manager, mom manager, wife manager?
So exactly, like, so when you're a mom, that's the other guilt, when you're a mom, you have all these other jobs you're doing extra that you weren't doing before, and the man just continues as normal. They just go to work, right? Anyway, so I'm not gonna start with the feminist stuff now, but because we're going off topic.
But we can totally save that for another show, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So where was I missed that.
You were saying, in addition to all the other things that you had to do during this 3 weeks, which is why you were so exhausted.
Oh my gosh. Yes, exactly. Yeah, I didn't get any time to rest, really. And it's not that we went out and had a little holiday with a family, which is not super restful, but it's in other ways kind of more it's nice, it's pleasurable, right? I didn't get any time to myself. And then after that we started straight away, with the yoga business and setting up Beyond Motherhood off the ground, all these meetings. And then, oh my gosh, the other thing happened. I had many people asking for my help. That was nothing to do with Beyond Motherhood or mothers, or just people. And, I have this tendency, I just like helping people. I just love helping people. And, but then there's this thing. So there's a difference between supporting when there's an urgency, like like for instance, on the way from our holidays in August, this our summer holidays from Greece. On the plane, we encountered there was a family in front of us with small children, and just before we set off the ground, there was this the little 2-year-old was crying, and the mom was obviously overwhelmed, and she couldn't calm her down, so she lost it, and she was and shouting, which made the baby, the little girl, cry anxious. More. And it was, and I could see it, and I could see why, and I was tired. I was like, I couldn't wait, because like my children are old enough that I was like really looking forward to have a nap on the plane. But you know what? I had this urge. It's like that pull I was telling you about earlier, that I need to help, right? And there was no way for me not to step up and help. So as soon as I found the opportunity, I was there holding little Elena, and she was beautifully content. I spoke with the mom, who also relaxed immediately, having that support from someone else. And seeing how calmly I interacted with Elena, and well, basically for the whole trip, Elena was with me on my lap, feeding her and having my son playing with her. It was a wonderful experience. And even though it was exhausting, it was beautiful. And I mean, still, the mom says that, that she tells everyone they met an angel on the plane, which is just so wonderful. So having that example, this was something urgent, right? This was like, there's no way I'm not going to help. And then last week, I had people coming to me asking for help. They were not urgent. But what happened was, because I was really exhausted, I was already very tired. I had brain fog, and my automatic reaction and response, because I love supporting and helping people. This is who I am. I've always had this since I was a kid. I can't help it. Was yes, of course. Yeah. Do you want to call now? I'm not doing anything, even though I had shit looks to do. But because I didn't have like an appointment or anything, I can have a call with you. I can help you. And I did that a few times. It broke me. Yeah. It broke me. I was then snappy at the boys, like, oh, what's going on? I was not myself. I couldn't think. I couldn't make any decisions. I just, there is a difference, it wasn't urgent. I should have said no, but I didn't have that. But because I had the brain fog, because I was already over my limit, I didn't see that. I didn't see that. So now I am taking, I said this, I'm doing the podcast because I really want to do it, because it is like balance boldly. So
balance boldly, baby.
Exactly. So that gave me
like a destination.
Exactly. I should listen to that. And after this, I'm taking time off.
Yes.
And that's it.
I was just about to ask you, how are you giving yourself permission to pause? But you were kind of answering it. Like, I learned from the last few weeks of what I went through, and now I'm about to make some space for myself.
Exactly. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna book something to go away next week. I'm gonna after today, I'm doing just yoga, and then I'm going away on my own. Yes, just on my own, somewhere in nature, because nature is a conduit. It helps, it facilitates,
it grounds,
so
it anchors.
So good.
I have to commend you for a couple of reasons, Mara. First, for taking a self-lovecation for yourself, to just love on you and receive instead of constantly being in go, do, be, serve mode. That's hard for people, and especially as a woman, just period, but also as an ambitious woman that is, her default is being great at all times, right? And sometimes it's hard to turn that volume of greatness down so that you can just rest and receive without feeling like you're turning your light down simultaneously. So I want to commend you for that, but also for your vulnerability that you just shared with us, for all the listeners. I hope you really felt it more than just heard it, because I know if you're being honest with yourself as a listener, male or female, you relate to exactly what Mara just shared with, for the most part, doing your thing, helping, serving, being great, having the volume just where it needs to be, and then realizing that maybe the volume was so high that you couldn't even hear what you needed in the moment. What you needed in your example was a no, right? Book an appointment, hit me up later. But the volume of your greatness was just so loud that you couldn't really hear it. And that's not a judgment. It doesn't mean you're less of an awesome, amazing, ambitious woman that you are, with these phenomenal businesses that you have, and being a great wife and mother and all that. It doesn't take away from that. It's just an observation for yourself. And I hope that you hear it, not you, Mara, because you've already heard it, that you who are listening hears it as well, because we do that to ourselves and to each other. We shame each other into thinking that you can't give yourself the permission to pause, to slow down, so that when it's time, not on someone else's time, you can speed up or catapult and propel into the next level of wherever you're supposed to be. We think that turning that greatness down for the reasons that I just said means that you're less or the other person can't keep up, and it's not. Let me be 1000% clear. As the number one balance and relationship advisor in the world, the reason that I'm number one isn't my multiple degrees and licenses and certifications and 20 plus years of experience. All of that is great, and I don't take away from my achievements. But the reason that I am number one is because I am constantly working on balance and relationships. I don't feel like I'm so hoity toity that I can't learn, that I can't be, as my good friend Margie Feldman says, a student of greatness, that I can't be constantly in a situation where I have to learn a better way for myself that maybe makes it over to become a tool for someone else that I meet at some point. Sometimes the tools are just for me, but many times they end up being great things that I can pass along. And it's not because I haven't experienced issues that make me want to balance better or to have better, deeper, connected relationships. It's exactly because I struggled with it that made me who I am. So I hear you fully, and I hope that you are seen and heard in this moment because it mattered. And I'm really grateful for your share.
Thank you, Naketa. Yeah,
You're welcome.
that's
You're welcome.
yeah, really awesome. I hope we helped the listeners.
I think we did.
Yeah,
I'm expecting some great feedback, guys.
yeah. I mean, I think the next question would probably be, how do you take that time? How do you do that when you're a mom, and especially a stay-at-home mom? Because then if you're working mom, not that you do less, it's just you
No.
getting that break from the children, which is so valuable. How do you do it? And the simple answer, well, simple, it's not simple, but the answer is support. Get as much as support as you can, be it hired support or family support. You can't be with your children all the time. It's not good for you or them. Because if you're not well, how is that? What example do you give your children if you can't be 100% quality, versus quantity? Because we feel guilty if we leave them with someone else, but you know how valuable that is for them as well as you. You taking that break for your personal development. Because how are you going to develop yourself if you don't have time to actually think? I mean, to read a book for the pleasure of it, to just ponder, to get your creative juices. How are you going to, and think about, you are an intelligent woman who is dormant, and you are capturing you're not letting your genius out in the world. I mean, the world needs you, right?
Absolutely.
And as much as the children need you, and the children need you to see you in your greatness, it's just so important. So get that support, hired support, after school clubs. I mean, and of course, you like getting your partner, but again, going back into that feminist thing I was telling you about for another session, it's so important for your partner to be involved and not for you to take all of it on your own.
Right.
But until then, get the support. I mean, it's just so important. Take the time to yourself. Motherhood is a blessing. It's an amazing thing. And we said biologically as well, our brain gets better with permanently with pregnancies. This is what happens. But you need time for yourself.
Absolutely. So, pun intended here, guys, so you can move beyond motherhood and still enjoy the process. Mara, how can people connect with you? Where should they go to get some more information and see how they can potentially have you and your team as part of their support system?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. You can visit my website, maralife.com, where you can find all the details there. You can find all my Instagram links and my contact details. You can book an appointment with me or a member of my team. But, can't wait to hear from you.
Absolutely. Mara, you have been absolutely beautiful and a spacious place to breathe. Because I'm sure if any of you were listening from the beginning, we breathed a couple times during this session. Some deep, cleaning, energetic breaths to just really dive deeper into the vulnerability and strength that is vulnerability. So Mara could share her story and give you something more about her that you can't just Google, so you can really get to know her. And I'm grateful again that you opened up and shared with us for all the ways that this matters for you. For Balance Boldly listeners, we are always grateful to have you tuning in. If you are new to the show, welcome. If you are coming back, welcome back, baby. We are back in rhythm. I'm looking forward to seeing you weekly. We have some exciting things coming out for those of you who have been long-term listeners, because we've been podcasting since 2012 and doing the BBP since 2016 specifically. We have a new show coming called Intentionally Selfish. And if you don't know, read my book, my memoir, Selfish, and you'll figure out why I'm doing it. I'm really, really excited about it. You'll get more details about that later. But in the interim, I hope that you received everything that you needed. The best way to show you care is to share this episode with someone that you know needs to hear it. That is the best way. The second best way is to leave a review, preferably 5 stars, but I'm not judging. I still love you anyway. Just be truthful in your review wherever you're listening to this on your favorite podcast app, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all the places. Thankfully, we're in all the zones. And in the interim, again, I ask that you enjoy the balance of your day, but remember, do it